This is David Adelson with Innovate Orlando, and this week I have the opportunity to be with one of our champion sponsors with the Orlando tech community, and we have Brian here from Cole Engineering. Good morning, Brian.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm so glad you had the opportunity to join us. We've this past year has been such a roller coaster for everything we've had going on for the Orlando tech community, and Cole Engineering has been hand in hand right next to us, helping us guide, giving us input into some different sectors that we haven't considered, and really just been fundamental in how we've grown. But I really would like to take a step back and learn more about Cole Engineering, because I'm not sure that all of our members know exactly what Cole Engineering does. So maybe this is a great opportunity to talk about not only the market that you serve, but also the products that you're serving it with.
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's been a fun journey. It's been super helpful for us as well, as we expand our presence in Orlando. So our company was founded in 2004. We've been in Orlando since 2004. I like to use the homegrown analogy because it's 100% true, right? I've been with the company about 3.5 years, but intimately familiar with the company for 10 or so from my previous life on the government side of the house. Over here in East Orlando and Team Orlando, as we call it over here. In the simulation and training space. So our company predominantly has grown up here and served those customers over in East Orlando in that Team Orlando community. We do 98% of our business is in the defense marketplace, working with the federal government to try to meet their unique and very challenging ways that they buy and acquire services. So we're a simulation and training company. That's what we do. We build simulators. We build services to make those simulators talk to each other. We, training products, training delivery, those types of things, which is a pretty unique in the grand scheme of the world for companies that do that. But obviously, what we do over here in the east side of the Orlando tech community, is heavily invested in that space. So that's what we do. That's how we try to offer a unique value add to our customers and understanding what they do intimately from the services side.
Yeah, that's really interesting, Brian. And being since your origin in the early 2000s, I'd love to know why you chose Orlando. And as a leading question, I guess many people here probably don't realize that we're a $6 billion simulation market here, and we are the simulation capital of the world. And there's a lot of attributes and talent and people here. But was there something specific that gravitated the need for Cole Engineering to be here in Central Florida?
Yeah, it was, if you think about back in that time in 2004, things were kicking off. That space here in Orlando, that simulation and training marketplace you talked about, has been here since the 60s, for a very long time in different forms and growing out. But around that time, a lot of dollars coming in. So all the big companies kind of had a presence here. I would say the smaller companies, maybe not as much. And they were kind of kickstarting around that at that time. And the founder of our company, Brian Cole, our namesake, Cole Engineering, spun it out of SAIC, started his own company, and just was out to do the right thing, deliver unique capability to help support the warfighter, being responsive to customers, being unique in what we had instead of just being, I won't pick on SAIC, right? Because, great company, love you, right? Don't come call me afterwards. But the monoliths that are out there that aren't responsive and aren't agile and don't listen to what your customer is actually saying, especially when that customer isn't just, a mom buying your product down the street or whoever it may be, right? They're buying very complicated, unique requirement sets that take years and years and years to mature and build out, right? So it takes a company, a lot of times, the small businesses in this community over here, to grow and be able to do that and be agile and responsive to it, right? And to steal the phase, innovate, right? And sometimes that's hard in this space where you're innovating at the margins, vice just innovating and going to unicorn.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you seen a increased growth in our marketplace specifically in the past years, or has it continued? Have you seen just an evolution over the past decade?
Yeah, I'd really call it an evolution. I think that's a better, evolution, not revolution, right? It's that smart growth and making sure people understand the capabilities that are provided and the synergies that come from that, right? Of bringing people together, um, from an employees, whether it's hiring employees or having the service, when I say services, the Army, Navy, Marine Corps, Air Force, all here, local Coast Guard, Space Force, all here locally, talking to each other about their requirements and how they can share what they're doing, right? And so that ecosystem kind of rolls through, right? And over time, the snowball hits, and ebbs and flows with government funding. We're fresh on September 29th, shy of a potential government shutdown, but um, that's the world that exists out there in the defense space. But um, that evolution and that snowball over time keeps the right things happening, and it keeps the right companies here doing good work.
Yeah. Yeah. At the fabric of what we are here in our tech ecosystem, Team Orlando is such an important piece. And many of us know about exactly what Team Orlando is all about. But some of us don't. Can you take a couple seconds just to talk, or a couple minutes to talk about what exactly Team Orlando is?
Yeah, so I just kind of teased it out a little bit, but the Army, the Navy, the Marine Corps, the Air Force, and there's different names for each of them here locally, and the Space Force and the Coast Guard and across the board have presence here specific to simulation and training. They're communities that do the acquisition, the buying of those and fielding of those training systems or services out to the field, to the fleet, wherever they may go, are all here. They're here in Orlando doing that. The $6 billion that you talked about, right? So there's a tremendous um, buying and selling on both sides of that, right? Of that group, and it goes back, like I mentioned earlier, from to the 1960s of what used to be what is now Baldwin Park or down by the airport, and all those different pieces of how it's grown. And you know, they wouldn't have envisioned cyber training being developed and cyber ranges that are connecting people across the world being done here locally today, but they are, because that's the training requirements and demand for today. And because it's all grown here and the collaboration here between the groups that we call Team Orlando, and the Team Orlando isn't just the Army, Navy, it's the industry side of it. It's UCF, it's the academia side and Full Sail, and not just UCF. I'm a UCF alum. I give credit to UCF first, right? To be nice to them. But it's that whole ecosystem, right, that you talked about. So it's super important, and it's a growth engine that continues to drive, an entire eastern flank of Central Florida, from East Orlando to over to the Cape.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, first, go Knights. And
Charge on.
so charge on. Central Florida, we rebranded a lot of our tech and innovation here as the Meta Center just a little over a year ago. And one of the key elements that make us the Meta Center is the simulation market here. So have you seen a shift just in consumer? Well, there's obviously a shift in consumer behaviors right now, and moving towards VR a little bit heavier. Simulation is in a different space, but you must have seen some type of paradigm shift from the private sector into the public sector within the past few years, for sure.
Yeah, and it's my previous life on the government side was trying to make sure what was called non-traditional defense contractors. It's bringing in the folks that don't want to open their books up to the burdensome buying process that is dealing with the federal government. And there's some unique ways that those folks were trying to be brought in, but the reason they were being brought in is because all the commercial tech is what was needed to drive it. You couldn't take 5 years to develop a unique headset that was going to be replaced and out of date before it was fielded, right? You should be able to swap them in and out using commercial protocols, using commercial headsets, whatever those may be for the AR, VR side of things, right? And if you're immersing people, if it's putting an AR headset on to be able to do that training in different ways, wherever you may be, we call it the point of need. And, on the Army side of house, of where do you want to train at? You should be able to train wherever you're at with your full mission, not just sitting in a schoolhouse somewhere in, Fort Lee, Virginia, trying to study what it might be one day, and then you don't touch it again for 10 years.
Yeah.
Maybe I need a marksmanship simulator, to time it up, and I can just put a magic leap on and ready, and roll, and do it in my barracks, or a simulator in a box that you can wheel out, tie into the Army's metaverse or whatever that may be, right? Of an immersive, persistent game state that's out there, and I can connect with another one of those simulators that's across the country, and we can train together. You know what our mission may be. Serious gaming, right? Not just go play, but training a mission that is important for where those people are going to go fight.
Yeah, the convergence of all of this right now is a really special time, and it's a special time because the things that we've been building towards really for the last 50 years in this marketplace are coming to a head on the private and the public sectors, and that ends up being really special and becomes a great opportunity for us here in Central Florida to really put a firm stake in the ground. And I'm so happy Cole Engineering is a part of that fabric. And certainly as a supporter of everything that we're doing. So Brian, you've seen probably a lot of change in our Orlando tech community in the past few years. Where do you think it's all going? How do you think it's going?
So it's super, super exciting, right? Because there's a focus, and forever there wasn't necessarily a focus, and there was, different pots are all existing everywhere, and they're doing well and they're serving their niche. But like I talked about the Team Orlando space collaborating, well, now the entire Orlando tech community is collaborating. So you have people from different segments talking to each other all the time, multiple times a week, right? Not just that are all coming together for these great events that are happening, and ultimately culminating in Meta Center Global Week to do a little plug, right? Of come out and see it all happening. But it's because there's a genuine, unique focus, right? And whatever the branding is, right? The branding is strong as the Meta Center, right? Because that touches a lot of different stuff, but it's unified, right? And that's so pivotal to how we roll forward and make it real, instead of just something that changes again in 3 years and someone else comes in and they have their own vision, and it goes back to individual stovepipes, right? Stovepipes go nowhere. No one gains from that, right? There's no momentum that comes from that. So
no doubt. And together we are absolutely stronger. Apart, we fail slowly. So
yeah,
it's good to be united on that front. Brian, you have been pivotal for our Orlando tech community, an amazing supporter. It's so good to learn more about Cole Engineering. I know you'll be, for a shameless plug, at Meta Center Global Week and have a presence there. And how can people get in touch with you and learn more about what Cole Engineering Services does?
yeah, I would say reach out to me on LinkedIn. You can search for my name that you see there, Brian Serra, and send me a message. Happy to get out and talk to anyone and get on the horn or come see you or do whatever it may be of how we may be able to partner and collaborate, and appreciate it. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, Brian, and thanks for joining us today, and have a great day.
All right. Thanks.